Friends, welcome to CaFFe Gospel Ministries. We continue through the Sermon on the Mount, where each Christian is identified as a spiritual person. St. Paul in his second reading today says, your faith should not depend on human philosophy, but on the power of God. Prophet Isaiah speaks of light rising in the night and your shadow becoming as at noon. The themes of this Sunday are so deep and important. And the themes we discuss are salt, light, and shadow. When Isaiah says, your shadow becomes like in noon, go out and watch your shadow growing and shrinking during day and again growing in the evening. A shadow is not a reflection, but absence of light. When the light is blocked because of an object, that object becomes a shadow or shade. In the biblical language, it is the absence of the Spirit of God. Shadow is the absence of spiritual energy. First, parents hiding behind the shadows of the tree. Elijah feels tired in the spiritual journey and sleeps under the bush. On the Mount of Olives, Jesus found the disciples sleeping. An absence of the Spirit of God is the shadow that one slumbers. The promise of Isaiah says, in darkness the light rises and the shadow becomes as short as of the noon. The presence of God diminishes the shadow. The spiritual dryness, the passion for sinful pleasures, and the selfish you become as short as of the noon shadow. When Jesus says, you are the light of the world, it means your presence is going to be a spiritual uplifter. Wherever you go as a baptized Christian, your presence should carry the light that diminishes the shadow. Sermon on the Mount, beginning with the Beatitudes, tells us that Christianity is a theological theme, not a human philosophy. You are the light. Let it dim down the ungodly actions around you. Friends, the second theme of the gospel is you are the salt of the earth. There are over 14,000 uses for the salt proven scientifically. When Jesus says you are the salt of the earth, we need to understand it through the major themes of it. Salt is good for seasoning, it enhances and it preserves. What is seasoning doing? Seasoning is done to bring out the best flavor quality out of something. You are the salt and it does the function of seasoning, bringing out the best in the other. Salt also preserves. Christians should preserve the moral life of the society. Cardinal Sheen says, holiness is like salt. Its usefulness to others must begin with the self. As only the wise man can impart wisdom to others, so only the saintly can communicate sanctity. Be salted with the Spirit of God is important to preserve the culture and society according to the mind of God. St. Chrysostom in his Homilies says, unless we are salt of Christ, we will spoil ourselves, and that we are committed to preserve. We are called to be preservers and uplifters of the best around us, being the salt of Jesus Christ. Salt is a strict combination, and our table salt takes 60% of chloride and 40% of sodium. The same way Bible explains humans as body, soul, organism. Is the balance and the forgetfulness of the one aspect can collapse the purpose of our life. To gain the salt within us, we need to keep up the spiritual combination in attitude, in our choices, and in our life. Salt is best present when it dissolves completely. Friends, salt and light are two metaphors that speak to us of our spiritual identity. Be the light of Christ that diminishes the shadows of self and the physical. Be the salt of Christ who uplifts the quality in the family, parish, and society. The light on the right place brings down the shadow. Let the spiritual values be upon the top of us to keep our ego shorter and the morals uplifted around us. God bless you all. Father Tony.